faithfully conveying value, interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, I'll interpret for you the book titled The Rise of the Machines, with the subtitle The Lost History of Cybernetics. So, when you hear Rise of the Machines, what comes to mind? Some might picture those super-powered robots from sci-fi movies, huh? Those with human-like morals, capable of anything from flying to diving underground. But will machines truly surpass humans? Well, to answer that, you got to understand the real reason behind machines' rise. In 1948, American mathematician Wiener published Cybernetics, marking its birth. And it was cybernetics that fueled machines' ascent. Truth is, machines existed before cybernetics was born, like steam engines from the first industrial revolution or combustion engines from the second revolution. All machines. But machines truly became indispensable only after cybernetics emerged. From phones and computers to TVs, fridges, washing machines, then cars, high-speed rails, planes. They're everywhere in human life now. Cybernetics underpins all these machines. So what is cybernetics? Simply put, it studies how machines mimic human and animal behavior. The author Thomas Rid, a professor at King's College London's War Studies Department, was named Cyber Warfare Authority by The Economist. Here, cyber specifically means cybernetics. In this book, through warfare's unique lens, Rid reawakens awareness of cybernetics' historical impact and sparks deep reflection on future human-machine relations. Next, I'll explore the book's core ideas through 4 questions. First, how cybernetics came to be. Second, understanding cybernetics. Third, where has cybernetics been applied? Fourth, cybernetics' future trajectory. Starting with the first, how cybernetics was born. As a military scholar, Rid argues its concepts originated in warfare. Earlier we mentioned Wiener published Cybernetics in 1948. This was after World War II ended. Actually, the brewing of cybernetics ideas happened during World War II. During World War II, Germany used advanced aircraft to launch massive bombings on Britain. So, how to defend against these planes and missiles became a real challenge. Traditional defense relied solely on ground-based anti-air gun, firing after spotting enemy planes, commonly known as duck shooting. So what is duck shooting? It's like a hunter using a shotgun to shoot flying ducks. Those ducks aren't stationary, so there's a time gap from firing to hitting. Yeah. The hunter has to estimate the duck's flight path based on its height and speed, aiming at a point in their trajectory to bring them down. That using traditional anti-aircraft guns against planes is way harder than hunting ducks because planes fly at higher altitudes and faster speeds, and pilots know how to use darkness and clouds to cover themselves. Plus, pilots can constantly change flight paths to dodge ground attacks. Therefore, in most cases, before ground gunners could adjust their aim, enemy planes had already bombed and escaped the range. So how to shoot down enemy planes for effective air defense became the Allies' focus. And reliable intelligence then showed Germany was developing missiles to cross the Atlantic and strike the U.S. mainland. President Roosevelt immediately formed the National Defense Research Committee, gathering top scientists to tackle this. The father of cybernetics, Wiener, was part of that research. In 1940, Wiener and his student Julian Bigelow applied for a project called Exploring Prediction Using a Device to study its feasibility in pure math and strive to build such a device. The project name sounds confusing, huh? No worries, I'll visually explain their research. Simply put, it's about how to make one beam of light projected on a dark wall chase another randomly moving beam. First, they used a motor to drive a white spotlight, projecting a randomly generated, smooth, non-uniform, moving light spot on the wall for 15 seconds, simulating an enemy plane's flight path. So the problem they had to solve was how to adjust the angle of another red spotlight to make its red light spot simulating an anti-aircraft shell chase down the white light spot. After 2 years of effort, in 1942, Wiener submitted a report titled Extrapolation, Interpolation, and Smoothing of Stationary Time Series, finally solving the red light chasing white light problem mathematically. This 126-page report was packed with all kinds of mathematical symbols and formulas, stuff you've probably never even heard of. Officials at the National Defense Research Committee who read Wiener's report were equally baffled. Although Wiener's theories and methods solved the pursuit problem, they were too abstract to be applied directly to real air defense. Besides, by then, air defense product development had advanced. Improvements in radar and communication tech had basically solved the practical issue. First, radar technology saw a breakthrough. Radar could detect targets invisible to the naked eye, allowing for early spotting of enemy threats. And wireless communication technology made instant communication possible. Wireless communication not only established links between radar and anti-aircraft guns, but also communicated with shells in flight. So shells fired from anti-aircraft guns changed from regular ones with fixed paths to guided missiles that could be controlled. And they could alter their flight path and detonation time based on the target's movements, greatly boosting strike accuracy. Afterwards, products like missiles were quickly used in the war, significantly crushing the arrogance of German fascists. Although missile products didn't propose the matching math theories, the principles used were similar to Wiener's methods. Even Wiener once suspected plagiarism of his work. Since the air defense problem was effectively solved, Wiener's report was sealed away as a military secret. That wraps up the first issue we covered today. The concept of cybernetics originated from 221 air defense research. Although the term cybernetics wasn't explicitly coined during that time, however, the basic theoretical framework and practical products had already emerged. So what exactly is cybernetics? Next, we'll dive into the second issue for today, how to understand cybernetics. Actually, the English term isn't control theory, but cybernetics. Some scholars also translate it as cybernetics or mechanical brain theory. The concept of cybernetics originated from observing animal behavior, especially humans. Every animal, including humans, can sense the environment, control their actions, and influence their surroundings. For example, if a basketball flies toward you, you instinctively raise your arms to block it and avoid getting hit. If someone asks for the basketball, you control your arm movement to throw it accurately into their hands. Another example, in winter, people use stoves for warmth. If it's too cold, you make the fire stronger. If too hot, you reduce it, controlling room temperature within a comfortable range. The duck shooting mentioned earlier works similarly. Humans control shotguns based on ducks' flight patterns. Extending to 221's guided shells, they refined this through continuous feedback, making simulated duck shooting more precise. Simply put, applying biological feedback and control patterns to machine development is cybernetics. Understanding it requires grasping three core elements. First is control, the purpose of cybernetics. Catching and throwing basketballs controls their trajectory. Adjusting stoves controls room comfort. Aiming shotguns controls shooting accuracy. All involve control. Machine control follows the same principle. Controlling transportation gets us to destinations. Operating appliances simplifies life. Using software accomplishes work tasks. All control applications. Second core element, feedback. Cybernetics method. Feedback is information exchange between environment and human or machine. Like when a basketball approaches, visual signals reach the brain, which directs arms to catch it. Duck shooting similarly, flight visuals reach the brain, which adjusts aim. All modern machines incorporate feedback loops. Take missiles. Radar constantly feeds target data back, controlling trajectory adjustments for precise hits. In everyday life, air conditioners and refrigerators all have automatic temperature feedback mechanisms. Sensors detect the current temperature. If it goes beyond the set range, the computer chip sends a signal, starting the compressor to adjust the temperature back to a comfortable state. Now, the third core aspect of cybernetics is human-machine interaction. The relationship between humans and machines is the most crucial issue in cybernetics research. Machines serve humans, and whether convenient human-machine interaction can be achieved is key to successful machine design. For example, with smartphones, you can quickly operate them through touchscreens, buttons, or even voice commands. People don't need to worry about the super complex circuits and logic algorithms inside. Machines can't run without humans. All kinds of machines serve humanity and can be seen as extensions of human functions, like enhanced arms, eyes, and brains. Now, some might ask, doesn't current artificial intelligence have self-decision-making capabilities? That's true, but at a higher level, its self-decision-making has certain limits. For instance, AlphaGo, which defeated Go masters Lee Sedol and KG, has thinking and decision-making beyond humans, but it can't choose its opponents or decide when to play. Ultimately, it's still under human-machine interaction control. All right, so that wraps up the second issue we covered today. How to understand cybernetics. There are three key points. First, control. That's the purpose of cybernetics. Second, feedback. That's the method of cybernetics. Third, human-machine interaction. Always remember machines serve humans. All these are basic concepts of cybernetics. Quite abstract, but the practical applications we'll discuss next are closely tied to your daily life, so you'll grasp them more intuitively. So now let's move on to the third question. In which fields is cybernetics applied? There are three most important application areas: automation, human-machine integration, and cyberspace. First, let's cover automation, the earliest field where cybernetics combined with machines for practical use and social benefits. The author believes war was still the most important driver behind automation's emergence. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, although World War II had ended, the Cold War ignited by the US-Soviet rivalry hadn't stopped. Following the US, the Soviet Union successfully tested an atomic bomb and developed nuclear missiles capable of striking the American mainland, which terrified the US. If Soviet missiles attacked, they could be detected quickly by radar, but there was no time and just minutes to discuss how or what to intercept them with. In this scenario, automated defense systems emerged. They could automatically identify missile signals based on attack details and make interception decisions via preset programs without human judgment. So, you see, automated defense systems replaced part of the human brain's function for decision-making and commands. That's the core of automation. That's why some domestic experts translate cybernetics as mechanical brain theory, since mechanical brains substitute for some human brain functions. With continuous computer tech innovation, automation rapidly advanced, moving beyond military use into all areas of daily life. For instance, people only handle peripheral management tasks, letting computers take over many brain functions. Automated office systems at work, smart automated appliances in life, and transportation with automated controls for travel. All this makes our lives more convenient, efficient, and safer. The second practical application of cybernetics is human-machine integration, also known as cyborg. Cyborg in English means merging biology and machines to create enhanced capabilities. Cyborgs are actually quite common in daily life now. For example, someone who loses an arm can get a prosthetic. It integrates with the body, mimics a human arm, handles tasks with more strength, and rotates 360 degrees. Broadly speaking, wearing glasses or using smartphones is a form of human-machine integration. Machines have long been inseparable from human life. You could say we're no longer purely human, but cyborgs integrated with machines. The rapid development of cyborgs. Again, due to war, starting in the 1950s, the US and Soviet Union launched the space race. Back then, they needed to send not only satellites and spacecraft into the sky, but humans too. But obviously, the human body couldn't adapt. Space has no air, extreme temperatures, and intense radiation, making spacesuits essential. Spacesuits provide oxygen, stable temperatures, and radiation protection, combining with astronauts to form spacefaring cyborgs. This classic cyborg was used in both space races and actual warfare. For example, General Motors developed Handyman, a mechanical arm attachable to the human body. It resembled a human arm, but was hundreds of times stronger. With it, soldiers could easily clear jungle obstacles during combat. To win the Vietnam War, GM also developed bipedal tankmen operated from inside. Though never deployed, this machine tank concept caused a sensation. Researchers didn't just focus on external machines to enhance human capabilities. Radical cyborgs, they pursued body modification, removing flesh, connecting brains directly to machines, or creating machines with human brains. These scenarios, straight from sci-fi movies, were actually researched by scientists. Theoretically, there are no scientific barriers, just massive costs, ethical concerns, and no practical implementation yet. The practical applications of cybernetics. The third aspect is a field everyone depends on today. Cyberspace, what people call virtual space, also originated in the military. In the 1970s, U.S. Air Force engineers first proposed virtual space. They initially designed virtual space glasses, VR headsets. Wearing one makes you a cyborg entering virtual space to practice shooting. Later, virtual space technology was used for military training, especially aircraft, warship, and tank simulations, making training safer and more cost-effective. Since the 1990s, network technology gradually matured and expanded worldwide. That's when cyberspace truly entered its glorious era. Just through human-machine interaction with devices like computers, people can instantly enter virtual space, the network realm. With network tech's advancement, cyberspace has permeated every aspect of daily life. Take finance. Money used to be entirely physical. But with online finance expansion, mining can happen in cyberspace too. Using blockchain, you can mine Bitcoin and trade in this virtual realm. Or hackers. Traditional thieves steal physical items, but hackers enter virtual space to plunder wealth or secrets. Thus, cyberspace, epitomized by the network realm, has become humanity's second vital living space beyond reality. All right, that concludes the third question. Where has cybernetics been applied? Automation, human-machine integration, and cyberspace are cybernetics' three most impactful domains. Automation frees humans from tedious labor by replacing them with machines. Human-machine integration strives to merge humans and machines. Cyberspace provides a broader virtual world, especially the network space, now indispensable to everyone. So while cybernetics isn't mentioned much daily and isn't as famous as evolution or relativity, its ideas permeate everything. So what about its future with machines? That's our final question today. After half a century, cybernetics transcends technology. It's embedded in human culture. Some cyberneticists believe the brain holds no mystery. It's just a more sophisticated machine. This idea that humans and machines are one also influences culture. For example, cybernetics shapes literary creation. In 1967, American poet Richard Brautigan wrote All Watched Over by Machines of Loving Grace, imagining machines solving all human problems. It writes, I often dream of a cybernetic meadow where mammals and computers live together, programming in harmony, pure as water, touching the clear sky. In the 20th century, America's hippie culture was also influenced by cybernetics. It erased the absolute boundary between humans and machines, giving hippies theoretical grounding. So, if humans and machines aren't that different, then people shouldn't be confined by religion or morality either. Thus, they champion freedom and self-expressive forms, styles, and art. Of course, cybernetics' deepest cultural impact is on science fiction. Take sci-fi movies. Transformers, Superman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Star Wars, X-Men all feature various cyborg protagonists. They're either machines that think like humans, say Transformers, or humans with machine-like superpowers like Superman or Spider-Man, or human-machine hybrids like X-Men. Sci-fi greatly expands imagination, but also sparks worries. So if machines rise, where does that leave humanity? Actually, cybernetics pioneer Wiener worried about machine uprising too. He believed tech advances and cyborgs could disrupt humanity's ecological balance. More people fear machines. If they rise like humans, could they enslave us? But the author argues machines haven't risen, they're declining. Sure, we build all kinds, but they're tools humans use built on human-machine interaction. Machine rule over humans? That's absurd. Also, as Kevin Kelly wrote in Out of Control, humans, machines, and all nature submit to biological logic. We can't control everything, machines included, nor dictate cybernetics' future. What worries the author more is abuse by a minority. To him, cybernetics began with war and will likely return to it, as cyber warfare. Cyber war isn't fought with real weapons, it's waged online. Cyberspace was once seen by some as a war-free sanctuary, but now it's already shadowed by the clouds of war. The U.S. military has positioned cyber warfare as the future direction of war. Cyber warfare can disrupt financial networks, transportation systems, and power grids through computer viruses, logic bombs, hackers, and other methods, striking down enemies unseen. In the author's view, humanity's greatest threat comes not from outside, but from itself. Whether cybernetics or machines, they're ultimately just tools for humans. What humanity should fear most isn't external forces, but its own nature. So that concludes our coverage of the rise of the machines. This book reviewed cybernetics' historical development. It enabled machines' rise, but they remain human tools. Cybernetics' future rests in human hands, so every step we've taken deserves careful reflection. All right, that's our interpretation of the rise of the machines. The reading notes are below the audio. We'll meet again with another great book.